Hmm. As always, checking to see if everything is working as intended. Hmm. Okay. Didn't I have a text? Yeah, let's go. Alrighty, I think everything's Gucci. Hello, hello for anyone that's tuning in. Hello, hello. Let's do the thing that I'm supposed to do here. Everyone. Damn it. Click the button I shouldn't have clicked. Alright. Alrighty. There we go. Is everything Gucci in the hood? I can't tell. It looks good. Perfect. Okay. What in the world is going on? Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Okay. Got that there. Good to know. Oh, goodness gracious sakes alive. I cannot tell why a certain thing is going on in the background here. It's perplexing me. I don't have the technological know-how, unfortunately. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay. What the frick else am I looking at? I was looking at something else. God dang, there's been so many Google Chrome updates recently, and it's just so annoying because it closes all my tabs, and I'm one of those people that's got 50 million tabs open. I can reopen them right back. That's no problem. It's just I like visually seeing them all, and just not having to constantly open and close them all up. Okay, so I have to finalize here the final rulings on the good old West Marches game that I'm conducting. Basically, I'm just going to be looking through everything, see if there's anything else I've forgotten, cleaning up all the stuff that needs doing, and that'll be good to go. So, might as well expand everything out, and once it's all good, I'll unexpandify it. Also, I believe I just saw something. Oh yeah, for those of you who are in the know, good old Dungeon Coach, he has released his Kickstarter, which is DC 20, a take. It originally started as a 5e clone, I believe, but then he just decided to say, "Screw it, I'm going to make my own system." And he made his own system, and I just checked in, and he grossed over 1,000,000 smackaroos with that bad boy. Let me show that off on stream here. He has. Look at that. Between 9,668 backers. It's so close to being nice. Just one more, and it's the nicest number. He has with that many people in just 6 days. He has grossed $1,000,000, and look at that beautiful number right there, 9,669, and it's already ruined. It's already ruined. But we were here for that moment. How's it going, Conrad? So yeah, looking at this good old-fashioned Jamaroo here, Dungeon Coach is killing it. Props to him. He has worked long and hard on this product for quite some time. Once again, he originally was going to do a 5e kind of riff, but then he just decided, you know what, I'm doing my own thing, and I'm looking forward to it. This is a block action economy system, which I much more prefer than some very loose delineations of things. In fact, some of the game systems I've kind of dreamt up would either use 2, 3, or 4 block action economy. So I really like this. Looking through some of the stuff, there's a full beta for it. You can get a little access, and it's totally free. Just free mechanics. And there's some fun stuff you can do with it. I really like action economy, like block action points, because it really does feel like, there's this loose semblance of, what can I do with my movement? Oh, what can I do with my action? What can I do with my bonus action? The interaction, just tie everything to, if you move, that is 1 block. If you shoot your bow, that is 1 block. If you concentrate on the spell, this is 2 blocks, I really like a block action economy because it spells it out nice and simple for you. I have not personally delved into running this system yet. Still running a bunch of other things in the meanwhile. So it's going to take a little bit of time to get this to the table, but I do want to get it to the table at some point to see what's up. Also, I am very interested to see the social and the exploration mechanics here. I definitely think that there's some good mechanical input to be had there. That being said, though, me personally, I just personally, like, for generic games, I prefer not having to roll any dice when it comes to talking to people. I just prefer going, oh yeah, you what do you say? Like, you can either role play out your character and your voice and all that, or you can just say, oh, my character says this. Like, I personally don't like too many mechanics tied to good old-fashioned, talking to people is what it is. But exploration, I think, is definitely something that needs a lot more love in modern games. A lot of modern games simply don't have any exploration. Rest systems, 4 types of rest, 10 minutes to multiple days in town. Okay. Easier HP values. I definitely seen that there's a scale down of HP. HP does not blow it up massively. I remember looking at all that. Fun at level 1. Debatable. Fun is subjective, and the majority of players that I've ran for over the course of all my time, I have ran for hundreds, if not thousands, of players, and I know that on average, players are thirsty for more stuff to do. So typically, a lot of players just don't like level 1. I like level 1 just fine, but is what it is. Multi ancestry, multi classing. Combined attacks. Every 5 that you roll that beats your opponent's AC or defense, you deal +1 damage. This makes rolling high on attack and spells exciting. I'm a bit torn on that particular rule. I think that you can have a lot more fun class mechanics tied behind that. Like you could, for example, have like level 1 is fun. I think level 1 is fun. I think a more engagement mechanic for, instead of this being the general, for everyone involved, if you roll 5 over, you get a +1 of damage. I think more engaging, and mind you, when there's a +1 of damage here, the numbers are much smaller in this game as to compare to 5e. Like in 5e, eventually it's like, I hit them for 37 damage or something. But in this game, that is not the case. You are hitting for much lower numbers. So +1 is impactful. But I think a more engaging mechanic would be like, if you're an assassin and you roll, you only need to roll for every 3 that you roll over someone, then you get a +1 damage. And then there could be like a paladin, which is if you roll for every 7 that's over them, then you do like +2. Like you can have a whole bunch of different delineations. And then also you can also have more engaging mechanics than just +1. Like it could be instead of getting a +1 to damage, you knock them prone, or you knock a weapon down, you sunder their armor, you give your friend the next advantage. Like there's a whole bunch of mechanics you can do tied to for every 5 that you roll above your opponent's defense. That doesn't need to be just +1. Maybe that is tied to subclasses and I just don't know yet because I haven't looked through them all. Is what it is. And I definitely saw this before. Characters are not down at 0. They are, you die at -3 HP. So when you're at 0, you're still kicking, but you're obviously if you're still in the fight, then you're in trouble. I saw a bunch of comments saying that this was some people were saying that this barbarian looking dude was Grog. And then I saw a bunch of other comments saying that this is good old fashioned God of War. Apparently, just if you're a naked barbarian, you're either one of those two, I guess. Spellblade. Okay, so what are the core classes here? We've got Barbarian, Fighter, Druid, Source, Commander. So I assume Commander is the all-encompassing paladin here. Wizard, Cleric, Ranger, Monk, Rogue, Bard, Warlock, and Spellblade. So I definitely saw that there was some fervor because there's a whole bunch of Artificer fanatics, and they're saying, I need Artificer. And I know he's got Artificer working on the wings, but it's just not here on this page, I believe, unless I'm blind. No, it's not here. So besides the Spellblade, and I'm trying to think what other things there could be. I don't know. Don't know. Here's all the good stuff. Whole bunch of nonsense. Golly. Items, collection, Curse of Wolf's Peak PDF. As it seems to become tradition, I'd say hello and good night. No problem, Upper Plus. Thanks for stopping by. Thank you. Let's see. Some purple dice. Hey. Purple is very synonymous with Dungeon Coach, and he's got some dice rolling along with it. Props. Little dragon scales on it. That's pretty cool. Oh, goodness gracious. Just so much stuff. This dude's been pumping out so much content over the past however many years he's been doing stuff. I think he's been like YouTubing for like 5 years or so. I'd have to check back, but he's been pumping out a lot of content. This dude, I've talked to him before, and like I remember him saying like, oh, like, he was a teacher before. Nice shirt though. Thank you, thank you. He was a teacher before he decided to go full time content creating, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I do school, and then I just come home and I work all day, and I work all night and I work all day," and I'm like, "Oh my god, that sounds ridiculous." This guy was grinding, and it's paying off. It has paid off for sharks. I'm actually curious how many people he's got on his Patreon. Let's take a look. He's got 2,499 people throwing cash at him, and I believe in the smallest amount you can throw at him is $5. So he's doing good for himself. he's doing he. There's a reason why he quit his job. I can tell you that. There is a reason. Okay, just want to take a look at that. Up to 1,000 or 1,005,339. Good stuff. Dungeon Coach, great stuff. Alrighty, so while I revel in despair as I have not launched a Kickstarter that has earned me $1 million, not that it's earned him $1 million. Let's be honest here. The Kickstarter is going to take their cut, and then he's got a bunch of employees and this and that. So he's not walking away with $1 million. But on his resume, he can say, "I earned $1 million," and that is a tremendous thing to have on your writing resume forever and all time. And it's not even over yet. He's still 20 some odd days left on that Kickstarter. Alrighty. So, here's what I'm here for. I'm writing up the final list of all the rules for the West Marches. I'll be posting these all up in the Discord over the coming weekend because it seems like my weekend schedule has opened up a bit. So I'll be able to work on some content, not just the West Marches, but some of the content. Maybe I'll work on some content that'll earn me $1 million in Kickstarter at some point here. But here is where we're kicking things off. So, character creation, 3d6 down the line, you may swap to the stat rolls. There's always a huge debate on what stats should be in regards of, do I want powerful characters? Do I want weak characters? I want a variety of characters. And also very importantly is I want people to engage in the game and push themselves. So I know it's always controversial. Like there's always like the thing of like, oh, if you want anyone to do anything, then roll 46, drop the lowest in any, and then assign them in any order. But I want there to be a variety. I want you to persevere, overcome hardships, and I want you to understand that showing up and working with what you got can be just as enjoyable, if not more enjoyable, than coming up with a concept in mind. So I'm doing 3d6 down the line, but then you can swap to the stats. You then choose your class. I've got notes on weapons. There's a weapon proficiency system. You start off at max HP, but every time you level up, you re-roll all of your hit dice. Is there a lower limit where we can re-roll? You know what? That is actually fantastic that you brought that up. I thought about this like a little bit ago, but then I didn't input it. So let's do some math here because math is all about D&D. So when it comes to D&D, when it comes to 3d6 down the line, on average, you roll 3.5 times 3, 10.5 times 6, 63. So 63 is the average of the total points that you roll. Now, what I'm going to say for this is I don't care if you have several low stats. What I will care is if you have all low stats, i.e., your point total is low. So, like, for example, is if someone rolls like, like let's say 10s and 11s across the board, but then they have like one, like 4 or 3, then I'm going to say, screw you, you've got enough stats across the board, right? So what is the threshold here? What is unacceptable in regards of numbers? I'm gonna put a soft. Okay, let's crunch some numbers here. If you roll, let's say on average you get a. Let's say on average you got you rolled. If you rolled on average 3 times 3 equals 9 times 6, 54. But like a nine for a score on average is perfectly fine. So I'm going to say 50. I'm going to say if your total stat score is 50 or less, you may reroll. You may reroll. That was an excellent bring up there. So HP. So whatever class you are, you're either a D4, D6, or a D8 class. You re-roll. You start off with your max HP, so is what it is, and then plus or minus your con modifier. But then every time you level up, you take the total of your hit dice and then re-roll them. If you roll higher, then you get to keep that roll. If you roll lower, then you get to keep your HP as it where it was. For example, you're a fighter, you've got 8 HP at level 1, cool beans, this is awesome. Level 2, you roll 2d8. You roll those 2d8 and you get snake eyes. Oh man, that sucks. Well, at least you don't go down to 2. You don't lose HP for leveling up. You simply stay at 8. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because starting off, the reason why I'm giving you the max HP at level 1 to start is it increases the survivability a bit, but at the same time, it gives you a huge bonus, once again, going back to averages. If you're a D8 class on average, you are getting 4.5 HP. So that's putting you well ahead of the curve already. And if you were to stack hit dice on top of that, going into the second level and third level, it'd give you an incredibly high monstrous edge. So with this system, what it is on average at level 2, your HP isn't likely to increase, but then going forward, going to level 3, then you're on, once again, on the average rolls, you are then increasing your hit dice. And then of course and if you get unlucky, then it's perfectly fine. But if you get lucky, then you shoot to the stars. Going to level 2, for example, you could roll bad, and then guess what? Your HP stays at 8, but 8's still pretty good for what it should be anyway. But then you get lucky, you roll 2 8s, and you're like, oh my god, I'm at level 2, I've got 16 HP, this is crazy. Is what it is. Alignment, just for every PC, you simply roll a D6, or a D3 in this case. And then on a 1, you're law, on a 2, neutral, 3, chaos. Now, something very important is, I'm going to put this in the whole, player segment is, just because you're law, you're aligned to law, that doesn't mean you have to look at someone and say, if you steal a penny, I'm going to kill you. That's not what we're doing here. That's not what we're doing here. And conversely, if you are for chaos, you do not have to be like, I see the kid, I stab him, right? Like, we're not running that game, right? Just basically all the alignment really means is, one, there'll be certain items that'll affect you either positively or negatively, depending on your alignment. And other than that, that's just a way of foretelling, I guess, your character's disposition in regards of the cosmic universe, not on an individual little basis of, once again, if you are law, you do not have to, be like, if you disobey the law. I'm going to take you away, you criminal scum. No, we're not doing that. Equipment, 3d6 times 10, right from the get-go. Buy your gear. That's the end of the story. Simple as that. Name your character. Join a guild. Joining the guild is the big one because that's going to give you change up your stats. It's going to give you your incentives, your quest, it's going to be your drive, and that's going to be your fun jazz. I don't think there's really much else on character creation. Classes available. So right at the get-go, 20 classes to choose from. Acrobat, Assassin, Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Dwarf, Elf, Fighter, Gnome, Half-Elf, Halfling, Half-Orc, Illusionist, Knight, Magic User, Paladin, Ranger, Thief, Wood Elf. Very wide range of versatilities, of usabilities, of a whole bunch of variety there. And I think 20 is excellent. We're going to see a lot of variety in classes, depending on what you roll up. And as over the course of the adventure, more classes could potentially be unlocked. Weapon proficiency. So when you build your character, all characters in the system are either one of the three. They're either non-martial, semi-martial, or martial. Depending on your level of martialness, that'll determine how many points you get on that'll determine how many points you get on good old-fashioned how many weapons you can have. Dwarf is a class. Could you expand on that? Yes, indeedly. Let me pull this up. I will find it. Got a whole bunch of different things here. Perfect. God dang. Well, I'll tell you, streaming on one monitor is just the worst. The fact that I got to just bounce around between a whole bunch of like tabs like on top of each other, it just is the worst. Alrighty. So here we go. So dwarf is a class. So the dwarf has the following benefits. The dwarf is essentially like a fighter, except that they get several benefits, which include the following. They can detect construction tricks. They can detect room traps. They have infravision, which is not dark vision. Infravision is much different than dark vision. Basically, the difference is in dark vision, you can see in the dark. In infravision, what that means is in the dark, you can see heat sources. Very, very different. It does, in fact, has a pretty big substantial difference on how dungeon exploration works in the dark, right? They have a 2 in 6 chance of hearing something when they listen at a door. And at 9th level, they can build their own crack, their own dwarven stronghold, whatever the case may be. Pretty dope stuff. In addition to that, the dwarf's saving throws are really, really good. So, if you are familiar with 5e, which I assume to be the case, Wexton, is as follows. In 5e, whenever anyone subjects you to anything ever, like they hit you with a spell, it's like, oh, you have to make a spell save DC of my intelligence modifier plus my level. You make a DC 16 wisdom saving throw. And then you roll your dice and you apply your wisdom modifier to that, and that's the end of the story. This game is incredibly simple. How this game works is if someone subjects you to any type of saving throw, JF, hello, how's it going, JF? If someone subjects you to any saving throw at all whatsoever, like let's say the dragon breathes upon you, it would be, I'd say, okay, the dragon breathes upon you, make a breath saving throw. And instead of having to, change, like look at your saving throw, like bonuses, and then have to say, oh, the dragon subjects you to a DC 10 or 15, 20, whatever. Instead, all of the classes have their own individual saving throws. So we can see here that, for example, the dwarf starts off with a 13 in breath saves. And it's probably indicative of the fact that they're a little bit shorter. They have a little bit of a harder time jumping out of the way. But their death saving throw is 8. That is really powerful. That means you simply have to roll your dice and you just roll 8 or higher, you're good to go. This dwarf is in stark contrast of the fighter. So the fighter, as we take a look here, the fighter is significantly worse. The fighter starts off with really bad saving throws. We can see here that, for that breath, the dwarf was at a 13. The fighter's at a 15. You've only got a 6 in 20 chance of succeeding. And then the death save here, the dwarf was at an 8. This dude's at 12. The fighter freaking sucks when it comes to saving throws. But, every single class has their own benefits. Every single class has merit, worthwhile, and value. You just have to, once I post up all these classes, you can look through yourself and you can ask me, whatever the case may be. But all these classes have a reason to be. All the classes excel at something. All the classes are not good at something. And that's part of being an adventuring group. This is not everyone is a jack of all trades. This is, I'm good at this, you're good at that, let's work together. That is what this adventuring life is all about. Dwarf is the best class. Dwarf is a really good class, is what I'll say. Is the best? I don't know statistically. Dwarf is pretty freaking good. Those saving throws are just really freaking good. But are they the best? I don't know. I genuinely couldn't tell you what is genuinely the best. Alrighty. And by the way, how's it going, Alex? So when you create your character, you choose your weapon specializations, depending on, once again, if you are a martial class, a semi-martial class, or a non-martial class. That'll tell you how many points you get. So, for example, a martial class starts off with 4 weapon proficiency points. Semi-martial starts with 3. And if you are a non-martial, and the non-martials are essentially just casters, then you start off with 1. You get to be good with 1 weapon. That's the end of the story. Over the course of the game, you gain more weapon proficiencies. Good stuff there. Now, the martial class combat talents. So, as we just saw, looking at the good old-fashioned the fighter and the dwarf and the elf and all those things, they all add their own benefits. But something to really, really make the martials stand out as compared to the casters. The casters, always are special because they get a wide variety of spells. But how do we make the martials feel good? That is through the martial class combat talents. So at 1st, 5th, and 10th levels, a martial class gains one of the following talents. And that is, even though these are numbered, you don't roll for these. You get to choose them for your build, for example. And these are the things that are going to make you really stand out. We can have 2 fighters in the party, but one of the fighters might take some things that make them a bit more defensive. Some fighters might take things that make them a bit more offensive. Some fighters might specialize in sword and board, some in 2-handed weapons, some in bows and arrows, whatever the case may be. So, for example, looking at this list here, Defender. When the fighter is in melee, and I took these and fighter is like the generic term for all martial people. When the fighter is in melee with a foe, any attacks the foe make at characters other than the fighter are penalized at -2. So this isn't even like that right there. Is an incredibly powerful one. This isn't you using your reaction. This isn't using your action. This isn't using any sort of resource. This is just a straight up, you are a defender. When you get into a scrum with the homies, you are always actively and passively, specifically passively defending the homies. So that one there is a really, really good one. Another great example here is, let's take a look here. Ready Shooter. Ready Shooter is one of my favorite ones. While armed with a crossbow or firearm and not surprised in combat, you may fire off a shot before initiative starts. So typically how combat works is you and the enemy engage, and I say, hey, you and the enemy are here, roll initiative. Boom, initiative is rolled, and then, then you start shooting and firing and doing whatever. But if you're walking around with a crossbow or a gun, and you see them and you're not surprised, then you can immediately rip a shot off. And that's really powerful because crossbows and firearms take a whole turn to reload. But to compensate for that, they are more powerful. So a crossbow would do more damage than a bow, but the bow could fire every round versus a crossbow would only be able to fire once every other round. Which is why a talent like Ready Shooter would be really, really good. So, a whole bunch of things there. You get those at 1st, 5th, and 10th level. Great stuff. Character important game rules. I've got a bejesus ton here. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but a lot of them are pertinent information that if you are a player, you should glance through. And if you don't know them off the top of your head, or if you don't read through them all, then eventually someone, one of the other players or myself as the DM, will be able to point you in the right direction. We can say, how do critical hits work in this system? Oh, well, if you score a critical hit, you get to roll the damage die twice and you get to take the better result. Great stuff. When does this start? Fu Gojira Gaming, how's it going? I believe I have all the necessary pieces in place. I can probably start running next week. This stream right now, Gojira, is just me going over the rules, and then I've already got several location adventures for this dungeon, this mega dungeon that you're all a part of, and we'll be ready to start running it, and it'll be a great time. Session structure, pretty simple stuff. The gathering, the briefing. At the start of the session, everyone introduces themselves, and then I ask the players, okay, where are we going? Where are we dropping, boys? And something very important is when players sign up for a session, one thing I really encourage, which I can't hold the players at gunpoint to do this, but I really want them to, is I want the players that are signing up for the session to collaborate together and say, hey, let's go here today, let's go there today, because that'll save time when it comes to showing up for the session. Because Gojira, I'm sure you might remember this, I do distinctly remember times. Nice, West Marches are fun. My Kenku will resurrect from the bag of holding. You'll claw your way out. You'll be like, get me out of here. So, Gojira, you might remember, there were times where, I show up to the session and I say, okay, guys, where are we going today? And then, unfortunately, a little bit of a discourse, happens, and it might take a little too long to discuss, where are we going today? Are we going to this dungeon? Are we going to that dungeon? Are we going east, west, north, south? So I do want people to, talk about that beforehand. Then, of course, part 2, exploration and adventure. The players go on the adventure. You're doing a guild quest, you're exploring, you're diving into a dungeon, you're doing whatever. And then, that's throughout the session. And then by the end of the session, you return home. So there is no staying out in the dungeon. If you stay out in the dungeon, you are dead. That's just a plain, sad, cold truth of the matter. You have to return home. If you do not return home, your character is... I will roll on a sheet, and it's not here for public viewing. But basically what the roll is it's a roll where you could potentially die. Your character could end up missing. Your character could potentially come back, but it's a flat out roll. So you have to trudge along. And if you feel like your characters are stuck, then I'll be like, okay. I mean, if you want to end it here, I can roll for it. But really encourage people to get the heck back to town. Expectations of the game: you are not a hero. The world is dangerous. The world sucks. Everyone hates you. This place is planet bullshit. All that stuff. But while you are not a hero, you are an adventurer. You are a badass. You could be a commoner chilling at home, and then you just don't care. You're just stuck in this miserable life. but you chose to be an adventurer. You chose to go out and do things. Yeah, I do wonder what the party limit will be. Probably, like, I think like I'm like a tentative like 5 right now. I think 5-player max is probably pretty good. Because once again, Gojo, you might remember, but I ran a lot of big boy sessions. There were sessions that I ran which had, man, 8, 9, 10. I checked. I ran an 11-person session one time. That was miserable. And that was really funny too. I ran an 11-person session and I rolled up, the random encounter, and they went up against a Banshee. The Banshee did the song, the Banshee's wail or whatever, and I think 8 people went down. Last time was almost a war party. It was. You live and you learn. Alrighty. So here is one of the big aspects of this game, guilds and gargoyles. You are joining a guild. And I thought about this, and when you create your character, you are forced to join a guild. I thought it was 14, but people dropped LOL. No, I definitely I remember I scrolled through because it's still on the Discord, all the write-ups, and it was definitely I think 11 was the biggest one. Alrighty, so yeah, you create your character, you join a guild, and you want to join these guilds because they give you bonuses right off the bat. So for example, here is the Princess's Guard. When you join, you get a +1 to strength and charisma. As you go through the ranks, you get access to specialized armor. You eventually get a +2 to your critical hit die. Critical hit die chance. Chance. Forced to join a guild, my drow rogue would never. I mean, I did think about this. I thought about some people would be like, oh no, I'm too cool for a guild, but ultimately I need people to join a guild because if you don't, then you're just too loosey goosey. I need there to be a group cohesion. You all work together as a group. Banshee Encounter was iconic because it set the tone of the whole setting. Here's the three major ones, right? It was Banshees, Boulets, and Orcs. My God, those Boulets and Orcs in particular, the Banshees, obviously, the Banshees just wipe people out all the time. But man, those Orcs and Boulets were everyone's bane. There were so many dead PCs to Orcs and Boulets. It was insane. Alrighty, so you get a + critical hit die chance. Once per day, you can reroll a failed attack roll. Pretty dope. Gain additional attack per round against enemies with fewer hit die than you. And then finally, immunity to charm effects, +2 saving throw against death and poison. Great stuff. The Arcane Order. You get a +1 to intelligence and wisdom. You get access to a library with rare spell books, but you get 1 free spell per level. Then you get 1 additional first level spell slot. You then eventually impose a -1 against foes. Hello overboard. I'm going over the guilds right now. I'm just going over the full list of everything for the West Marches game. You then gain an additional spell slot of the highest level you can cast. And then you eventually get immunity to charm and sleep effects, +2 saving throw against spells. Great stuff. Mountain Shadows. This is probably the one that the rogues are going to be joining here. +1 to dexterity and wisdom. You can purchase rumors at a discount. There'll be in addition to what you do in session, there'll be a after session, events of, okay, what does your player do? Or what does your character do? And one of those things you can do is you can purchase rumors. If you purchase a rumor, then I give you a rumor about the dungeon, and that rumor will fuel your sense of adventure. But these rogues can purchase that rumor at a discount. They may attempt to pick locks twice before failure. Very, very big. Once per day, they can reroll a failed attack roll. They eventually get +2 to AC while retreating from foes. And lastly, advantage against non-magical traps. +2 bonus to saving throws against illusions. Cool stuff. The Light and the Darkness. These are the Holy Boys. +1 to strength and wisdom. Access to sacred texts that grant an additional domain spell per level. So, you're a cleric or a druid or whatever, paladin, whatever the case may be. You eventually get some extra spell casting. +3 to healing effect once per day. So pretty big one right there. You're, in a system where like a cure wounds is a D6, then boom, you get additional +3. Pretty huge. Do people optimize their PCs for your games? I like to play, but am a little worried about making bad characters. No, you don't need to optimize. Can't wait, but coffee time is over. Muting the tab and back to work. Lame. Why would you work when instead you can hear me drone on and on about nothing of importance or value? Why would you do that? No, Conrad, you don't need to build an optimized, you don't need to min-max this game. What I do expect you to do, though, is I expect you to play in a way that facilitates a fun, enjoyable experience for everyone at the table. It's as simple as that. And not only that, but there's very like, this isn't 5e or Pathfinder where you have a billion different checkboxes, right? This is a simple game. Like, you roll your stats, you choose your class, you join your guild, and like that's pretty much all it is. Are you rolling stats like good old days anyways? 3d6 down the line, Gojira. You can swap 2 of your stats though. Like that's my concession. So 3d6 down the line, pretty weak sauce stats there, but everyone's gonna be weak. I think I can do that. There you go. So going on, once per day can reroll a failed saving throw. Pretty huge right there. Retainers gain +1 loyalty and only require quarter pay. So basically you get like fervent, zealots joining you. And then eventually get advantage against disease and poison. +2 saving throw against undead effects. Great stuff. The Wanderers, you get a +2 dexterity and constitution. +1 to ranged attack rolls. So I imagine this is going to be the home of all the rangers and fighters who care about all that stuff. Once per day can reroll a failed navigation check as you're exploring the dungeon, the whole world, because you're in a mega dungeon. There'll be navigation checks and you could potentially fail them, so having one of these wanderers around could be pretty useful. +2 movement points for the party, so basically when you're moving around the world you get movement points like as a party, and having one of these people around lets you travel a little bit farther quicker, which is good. Advantage on navigation checks, and lastly, advantage against natural environmental hazards, +2 saving throw against nature-based spells. Cool stuff. The Merchants Guild. So the first 4 are definitely more in line with combaty, and then the 5th one is more in line with like combaty exploration. This is the first one that is totally not combaty. This is the Merchants Guild. You get +1 to intelligence and charisma. You get access to a trade network that provides rare items. You get a discount on items. You can re-roll failed reaction roll. Reaction roll is interacting with people. Not familiar with West Marches. So Overboard, I've actually got a video coming up about this exact topic. But to put it plain and simply, is as follows. I'm running this West Marches game, and I'm running it for everybody. Like, I'm putting this up on YouTube, I'm going to be chatting it up in the Discord. So I fully suspect I'm going to get, a couple of people showing up. And the idea behind West Marches is that it is always a one-shot. But it's not a one-shot as in like, this session we're going to be playing, Space Gangsters. And then the next one we're going to be playing, bounty hunters in a low gritty world. No. This is the series of continuous one-shots set in the same environment. You are working with a different group of people all the time because, I suspect a bunch of people are going to be showing up. And you are all collectively working together for the greater good. The greater good. So you guys are exploring this world together. You are tackling dungeons together. You are, working for the group collective whole together. But this isn't a game where it's like, okay, I'm only going to run the one session on Saturday night at 4 p.m. All my players show up. No, I'm going to be running these games at different times. I'll be running a game and I'll say, okay, I'm going to run a game on Tuesday at 3 o'clock, and then I'll run a game on Friday at 5 o'clock. And with that allows me to get players into the game that normally can't play because, sometimes people got, scheduling issues. A bunch of people got, things coming up at the last minute. So this is a non-committal way to play the game. And this is a way for me as a DM to run a bunch of games because that's what I like to do. What was I with the Merchants Guild? Failed reaction roll. Then you eventually get just free cashish, and then eventually get a bigger discount on structures, which is pretty awesome. Or you get a discount on structures. Alchemist Consortium, another non-combative one, but partially combative. +1 to int and whiz. You get access to an alchemy lab that allows you to make things that no one else can make. You then can reroll failed alchemy checks. You get an additional +2 intelligence and wisdom. I don't believe any other of the guilds get +4 to stats in total. I think all the other ones only get... Oh, no, I'm just saying right now the Engineers Guild gets that as well. And then you get to create a rare potion once per week. And then eventually you get immunity to poison and +2 saving throws against disease. Cool stuff. The Explorers Guild, +2 Dex and Wisdom. You get a +2. You get +2 languages, so you can read and talk more, which will be pertinent because, spoiler alert, there will be things that talk in this dungeon. Sometimes having people that can talk is a good thing. Sounds cool? It is cool. I have run several West Marches games before. I've run them in all various degrees. Two of my more prominent ones is one of them was essentially like every single session the group was doing a specific quest that I'd written up, like, the group is going to find the kidnapped children. The next session, the group is fighting the griffin that stole the cows or whatever. But then my other one, my big West Marches game that I ran, that was I plopped my players in the middle of an unexplored world, and then they simply explored that world. They literally hex crawled around the world, uncovering factions and dungeons and tackling all these places. And that one garnered a lot of praise. So I'm taking that element of exploration, but also stacking on top of that for this particular adventure. You are at the bottom of a mass dungeon, and everyone else is trying to climb their way up out of the dungeon for safety. I'm currently getting into Necromunda right now, very gang related and small campaign style. So similar to that, I'd say. Obviously, you're a 40k nerd, or you're a Warhammer nerd, so you would probably presumably know as well good old fashioned Mordheim. It's similar to that, but instead of one player controlling the warband, it's the warband is the individual people, essentially like that. And by the way, I wrote up a system. Yeah, trust me, I'm a Warhammer nerd. I know what's up. I'm actually writing a system for a Mordheim like game, but it'll be using a D10 instead of a D6 because I find that the D6 doesn't offer up fairness in regards of like if you like I haven't looked at Necromunda in a long time. I can't remember if it's the same like weapon skill versus weapon skill charts like as Mordheim, but in Mordheim the average weapon skill was 3, and it went down all the way to 1, and it went all the way up to 10. I would love more time to come back. I would too, and which is why I'm writing this, right, or making my own thing. And if you actually looked, if you had a weapon skill of like double, like if you had a weapon skill of like 6 or 7, and you went up against dudes that only had a weapon skill of 3, which is the average, like you barely were better than them. And I really didn't like that aspect. So I think with a D10 system, you can have a bit more delineation in regards of like, oh, if you're a weapon skill 10 going up against a weapon skill 3 person, which is very unlikely. Very rarely will someone get to weapon skills, 7 and plus. But even still, like if you get to those high numbers, you should like trounce like the pathetic normies. Alrighty, looking at the Explorers Guild some more. Exploration check, +2 initiative, gain additional action during surprise rounds, and immunity to fatigue. Cool stuff. Engineers Guild. The Engineers Guild is going to be for the people that want guns. If you want a gun, you have to join this guild, because no one else will have access to guns except these bad boys. They get a +2 dexterity and wisdom, then eventually access to black powder weapons, then a +2 intelligence and wisdom. They gain a 4 or 6 chance of detecting and understanding construction designs, -25% construction time on structures, and immunity to fatigue, and all that fun jazz. Great stuff. Then lastly, the final guild that once again rounds it back up to good old-fashioned martial prowess here is +1 to strength and constitution, +1 weapon specialization. You get to up your hit die. So if you are a fighter and you have a D8 for your hit die, then you join this faction or you join this guild, eventually get to tier 3, then boom, you go up to a D10. Very, very great, powerful stuff. Once per day can reroll failed death save. They gain a martial combat talent, and then immunity to paralysis. Cool stuff. So I'm good on playing the game. I'm good on the guilds. Guild advancement system. So when you join these guilds, you start off as a loser. That's the end of story. But then you rise up because you want to rise up because you want those bonuses. You want to help out your guild. You want to be more powerful. Yada yada. So how this works is you can rank up several ways. You get one guild point, advancement point, per 100 gold pieces donated. You get these APs for doing quest for the guild, and personal achievements, slaying powerful monsters, doing all that fun jazz. Guild renown. Oh, I gotta hide the guild quest there. Guild renown. So I want it to be a social thing of like, oh, I'm ranking up in my guild, like I want people to strive for moving forward in their guild, to have a whole bunch of fun times. Exploration. How exploration works is you get exploration points. So a normal group has 8 points of travel points. And if they force march, then they can move around. But if the party slow down for any reason, like someone's leg is busted, or you're carrying too much loot, or whatever the case may be, then you get less and less travel points. The travel points, you move one instance of like a hex through normal stuff, it costs 2. Through ruins, it costs 3. If it's swampy, then it's 5. Just a whole bunch of these things that eat up into your points and slow you down. Party loot. Very important one. The party goes out. They find 1,000 gold. 4-man team. Everyone gets a fair, even split. That's the end of the story. No ifs, ands, or buts. No, I contributed more. No, they contributed less. No, screw that. If people are being a problem and like not contributing, then I'm gonna kick them out of the game. Let's be real here. But everyone gets their fair share of the gold. Now that, however, cannot be done with individual items. If you find potions, you find swords, you find the banner of whatever the case may be. There's only one of those. How do we go about offering those up? GDKP. Gold Dragon Kill Points. So, very, very simple. It is an auction. You guys find a sword. You find, two fighters in the party. They find the +1 sword. All the other people in the party don't use swords, so they don't care at all. But the two fighters, they're both like, oh, I want that sword. No, I want that sword. So how do we go about doing that? Pretty simple. GDKP, it's an auction. They return back to town, and I say, all right, gang, this sword's going up for auction. Starting bid, 100 gold. And fighter A says, oh, I bid. And then fighter B says, 200 gold. And then fighter A says, oh, I've only got 190 gold. Oh, too bad. So with that, the fighter takes, drops the 200 gold. Fighter B takes the 200 gold, takes the sword. But then, what the important part here is, I take that gold and then redistribute it amongst everyone else who contributed. So fighter A did not get that sword. So sad, right? But guess what? Now fighter A is richer. I take that 200 gold, divide it amongst the other, 4 party members, let's say here. And then boom, simple as that. So fighter B is now poorer, but fighter A is now richer. And GDKPs work incredibly well in a system where you cannot artificially get gold. This system does not work in a game like World of Warcraft, where people maliciously farm gold or buy gold from gold sellers, but it works perfectly well in a game where I am God. XP, pretty simple stuff. XP is split amongst all members of the party that go out on the expedition. If 5 people go out on the expedition, kill a whole bunch of monsters, get a whole bunch of gold, do whatever, but then when they get back, only one person's left alive, this is not a lion's share system, because that would probably incentivize some bad behavior, that would not be reflective of the true experience. The reason you got all that experience is because you were part of a team, even if people die. God of gold, exactly. The reason you got that experience and survived is because other people died. So the experience essentially dies with them. So for example, the 5-man party goes out, only one of them returns. The party should have earned 1,000 XP. Well, yeah. The surviving person does not get 1,000 XP. The surviving person would get 250, right? No, just 200. Just 200 XP. Yield quest. So, in addition to the concept of exploring this dungeon and having individual goals, and maybe just wanting to tackle that one dungeon in particular that you really, really want vengeance on because your last character got killed there, your friend got killed there, that there's some meanie monster in there, whatever the case may be. You can do those things, but in addition to that, to supplement the exploration of this game, is that there's going to be guild quests. Those guild quests are going to send you to specific locations to do specific tasks. Sometimes that's defending an area, sometimes that's clearing out a dungeon, sometimes that's guarding someone along the way, whatever the case may be. A whole bunch of different guild quests. Escaping the dungeon. So at the end of the day, everyone that is joining this adventure has one overarching goal. You might have individual quest of, oh, I want to get to this level, oh, I want to get all this gold, I want to build this structure, I want to help out my guild, I want to whatever. Doesn't matter what you have, because at the end of the day, the number one objective you have is escaping this dungeon. You want to get out of here, you want to escape, you want to be free. And so that is what the clear, concise driving goal is for everyone, and that allows you as a group to come together and tackle this dungeon. In regards to the social aspects of the game, you guys are guild operators. I want guilds to work together. Maybe there'll be fun rivalries here and there, but there won't be any PvP, none at all whatsoever. But I want the groups to work together. I want individual guilds to be like, oh, if we really, let's say I get like 30 players to show up to this game, and then, whoa, $10 overboard. I know rules writing does really pay unless it goes big. Here's a little something. I have a huge task ahead of me. I plan on creating an alternating activations for 40k, similar to Star Wars Legion. Heck yeah, let's go overboard. Thank you so very much. I would be interested in seeing that because, I think 40K could use a little bit of love. I think 40K could use a little bit of shakeup in how the game is structured, I should say. So thank you so very much. So yeah, I want groups to come together. Let me heart that. Boom, got your little heart. I got you $1. Like. Can I not like that comment? It's weird. Whatever. But thank you so very much, Overboard. That's incredible. And I do want to see a shakeup of the 40K system there. So yeah, I want. Let's say I get 30 players to show up, and like 5 of them are in the same guild. Like I want those 5 people to have like a group cohesion of like, oh yeah, collectively as like, what do we want as a guild, right? Like, oh, we want to go over there. We want to explore this dungeon. We want to build this structure. Whatever the case may be. Shared knowledge. This is the big one. All knowledge imparted on the players is the players to impart on others, should they choose. So when, let's say, 5 players go out on an adventure and they come back, during their adventure, they found a dungeon. Too bad Eve of Ruin looks like trash, eh? Unfortunate. That's unfortunate. So, like, let's say 5 players go out and they find a dungeon. Like, they discovered this new dungeon. And all 5 players look to each other and say, hey, gang, what if we don't tell anyone else about this? Then that's their prerogative to do so. I am not going to force anyone to impart information that they discovered on their own. Now, is that the wise decision? Could be. Maybe if they have, individual desires of like, oh, okay, gang, like we, how about only the 5 of us know, where this dungeon is, and we tackle this when we get back together next time. Like that could be the case. And of course there's various other things, but how I'm gonna do this is I am very much so someone that always writes up about sessions whenever I have them. So I write up like a summary of like, oh, these people went out, they did this, they did that, these people died, etc., etc. But I'm not going to expose that to the public. That will be for my personal use. That'll be for my own personal memory. I'll expose it, later if. Oh, I'll expose. No, actually no. I can't expose them if everyone consents to that, because that would imply that the ones that I don't expose have like a secret behind them. So I'm just gonna keep them to myself for a long while until much later in the campaign, is what I'll say. And then lastly here, group progression. Everyone's working together. Everyone's pushing forward. You're clearing out this dungeon. You're getting stronger. You're trying to find your way out of here. You're trying to win. This is a thing that I've been thinking about in regards of West Marches. If it was good, it would have been fun for the old crew. It would have been for sure. But I've got another idea for the old crew, Gojira. Don't you worry. I got one involving a Sarac brewing up in the works. Good old Uncle Ace, the homie. But ultimately, something I failed to account for in all my previous West Marches is the end game. Like, how does the game end? And this one has a clear, concise, simple goal. You are trying to get out of this dungeon. Are they trying to win or survive? Both, right? Sips beer menacingly. So you guys are working to win. Like, I want this to be a adventure where you guys like win, right? Like there is a end goal. There is something there, and this is not like a just keep going until you feel like it, to stop until you feel like it. There is a clear end goal. You're standing here. There's an end goal here of escape this dungeon, but obviously with the in between is going to be the challenge. So I cannot wait to see how people tackle that challenge. So with that, I've got all what I've needed to write. So what I'm going to do is, over the course of this weekend, because it appears my weekend's been freed up, over the course of the weekend, I will be posting all of this information in the Discord to get everyone tantalized and ready to appreciate all my fine efforts in writing. Which, by the way, let me just double check here. How many words have I written for this? I am genuinely curious. I was like seeing how many words I've written in regards of like, oh, do I need to? I don't need to see that for the prediction, do I? Normally it says how many words you've written. Is there a word count somewhere? There's got to be like a word button, something. Review? Read a lot. Word count. Here we go. Wow, there we go. I've got 24,500 characters. Oh, I was about to say like words. Like that sounds like a lot. I have 4,850 words written up for this. That's a lot of words. Alrighty, perfect. So that is my shenanigans. And also, this is definitely going to be like an art piece. I might have up for the background. Actually, no, this is a bit too high fantasy. Bit too high fantasy for the backdrop. Alrighty, so with that, let me check up on some other things. You know what they say, a word is worth 1,000 pictures. You know what, that's probably what SpongeBob was thinking when he wrote the. So, obviously I can't expose anything in regards of all of the dungeon whatever. I will have basically a write-up thing of like in the Discord. I'm gonna have all this written up, and then I'll start making videos about it, trying to entice as many people as possible to play in this game, because I do want a lot of people showing up to this game. I think it'll be really fun if I've got a big old cast of characters, and whenever I decide to run a game at a certain time, then I'll have people showing up. I think that'll be great. Okay. Also, Gojira, when are they nerfing that Thunder Barge thing? Because that Thunder Barge seems a little OP. That Thunder Barge seems to get a little too much bang for its buck, from what I've seen. And like every game I've seen of a Thunder Barge in play, it requires like 6 units shooting it for like minutes to kill it. And I just feel like if you're a competent player, you can just have, you could just be like doing so many other things while your opponent has all their ranged units just shooting this one, big old stupid blimp. I'm in more Discords than I'd like to say. I'm not sure if I'm in yours. I mean, you can check the doobly-doo in this video, I believe. Let me double check. Yeah, if you go to the the good old go to the description of my video, you can find it. got tuned down and still wasn't enough. I think the big problem was the fact that like I think the movement was actually really like that movement system is really elegant in regards of it's hella slow, but then you can activate afterburners to make it go quick. Like I like that system a lot, but I think that the problem was the afterburners don't do enough damage to it. Like I think if either the afterburner, like I think that like one of the biggest things is they'd have to nerf the afterburner to some regard. Either it does more damage, you can't use it as much. It gives you like a quick burst of speed, like gives you like a huge burst of speed really quickly, but then stops. Like there needs to be something to it because you can have the afterburner on for a really long time and not really care. Exactly. Also, I know this is impossible for current CA, but I want you to think back to a world where there used to be naval battles in Total War games. There used to be the idea of crewing things and you could decrew them. Like that used to be an idea. They nerfed it, but it's still disgusting because of the health and armor. Oh yeah. So there's this idea that you could decrew something. I'm in now. Perfect, perfect. Like I said, I'll be posting all that stuff in the Discord this weekend. Uh, and like I thought that was a really elegant system of like in naval battles in particular of like you can either destroy the ship or you can decrew them. I don't know if CA would ever contemplate doing that for things anymore because they've moved on to the health system, which is still like the health system is tacked on to the CA, the Destroyer Past Innovation, exactly. Like they've tacked on the health system on top of the model system, but I think it would be cool if you had like these big old centerpiece, models that had a crew and you could decrew them. Like I think that would be cool. Like a perfect example being like the Shredder of Lustria. If you had like I think there could be a fun system of like, oh, if you attack the Shredder of Lustria in just melee, then the skinks on the back, they keep on shooting and whatever. But if you shoot it enough, maybe some of the crew die off, and that reduces the, that helps hurt the model in a way, or that hurts the overworking thing. Like I think that'd be cool to have too with the Thunder Barge. Is like it starts off strong, but then you shoot off the crew, and eventually the crew starts dying off. I think that could be a cool system, but I doubt they'll ever do that. Let's be honest. Let's be honest here. Although now I'm thinking like I don't know what other big models they would ever plan to add more to in Total War. Like I'm trying to think of all the big models. Yeah, it would be cool. I guess the coding is just a mess due to combining all three games. I I just don't know CA's game plan, right? Like they pimp out this system so much. They got to move on. So many things are much harder to do than they should be, for sure. I want to ride a giant turtle from Sigmar. There you go. Like, but I'm trying to think of all the other faction like big pieces that are left because the rumor mill going on is that they're going to add a full-blown Monkey King faction for good old Cathay. So maybe there's a big old King Kong gorilla, but I doubt there would be a King Kong gorilla that also has a crew on it. I mean, the only things I could ever think of that would be like a big model that they still haven't done in Total War, Warhammer. I don't know. Like besides like they've hit unless they did like they could do like a squig, I guess. Nah, squigs aren't really like for crewing. Like you just got the rider and that's that. Trying to think, is there anything like the ogre roster that's like really really huge? No. There's gotta be like a ginormous beast for the chaos though. There's gotta be some big old monster that they just don't have yet, right? Bunch of end time stuff. Yeah, like there's gotta be some huge monster that chaos has that like some like it could be like a whale, you know, it could be like a land whale. I don't know. Like Black Pyramid from Nagash. Yeah, yeah. I mean, actually, that's a really good one. Yeah, floating pyramids. That's actually a really, really good one. I think floating pyramids would be badass. You know what they really need though? What they really need is for the gun zombies, they need to add bloaters that have they're holding onto balloons, so you can fly them around and then drop them. I would love bloaters just holding onto a balloon and then and then when they find their target, they just drop and they explode. That would be dope. Hmm. Man, the future of Total War. I just need there to be some competition for Total War because line battling RTSs is such a phenomenal concept that is not being used. They could just make some insane shit up too. They have the license. Yeah, they can. Like it's like line battling RTSs should be much more prevalent in our world. And yeah, we just got Mana Lords, but Mana Lords is not a Total War game. It is not. Mana Lords is very, very small in nature. It was originally developed by one person. Did you hear about the Star Wars leak? Yeah, so I heard about the Star Wars leak. I think more like total snore, am I right? There you go. So I think Star Wars actually has some good solid foundation. However, big ol' asterisk. I think first off, it needs to not take place in the movie settings. Like none of the movie settings, because none of the movie settings offer up enough variety. I don't think that they offer up enough, license to create new things. I think that ultimately the best thing for Total War to do would be the Old Republic, because then you could have a whole bunch of Sith, you could have a whole bunch of Jedi, and it makes sense. Conrad gets it. And if you set it in the Old Republic, then you can play with a whole bunch of things. However, you know, the whole thing about Total War is Total War always takes place on a singular planet. Because that's just how Total War works. Because it's either taking place in our world or it's taking place in the fantasy world. How does Total War translate to a which assist like a setting that would not be just all on one planet? It's got to incorporate some form of transportation. It presumably would have to have some sort of system of like moving ships around. It'd have to have that core mechanic. Obviously, for multiplayer, who cares, right? For multiplayer, you're Sith and Jedi are fighting on Tatooine. Who cares? But for the campaign, when the campaign is of course a huge element of why people play these games, it had to have some sort of mechanism. They'd have to innovate hella hard. That being said, though, like I think there's already the good cornerstone foundation of what would work. Like in my mind, I'm already thinking of you literally just take aspiring champions from Chaos and just give them lightsabers, and then boom, that's a Sith unit, right? Like I can already see the foundations of the game. I can already see the ideas of instead of spells, you're using the Force. You know, instead of certain types of individual units, you'd be using mechs. For me, of course, as long as the battles are dope. Yeah, yeah. For the multiplayer crew, no one like the hardcore multiplayer crew doesn't care about the single player. But conversely, the single player crew doesn't care about multiplayer either. What if the map was a solar system or a galaxy? It'd have to be. It would definitely have to be. It'd have to be. It'd have to make sense why you're going places, because Star Wars has always been about going to different planets. Like Star Wars, specifically because in the Star Wars universe, all planets are always like, monotheistic ideas of, oh, that planet, it's 100% desert. Oh, that planet, it's 100% swamp. Oh, that planet, it's 100%, whatever, right? Like, that's just how the Star Wars universe works. Obviously, that notion of a planet is 100% of this biome is ridiculous, but no one cares because it's cool. So you'd have to have that variety of like going to different planets. So how they would go about doing that, they'd have to incorporate some sort of transportation system, the likes of which have not been seen in Total War ever. But what was I saying? There's a certain awesome ground of instead of groups, instead of a faction having comparing this to Total War, instead of a faction having like a, oh my god, what are the dudes with four legs and claws and whatever, instead of having, oh my god, why am I blanking on the four-legged demons that shoot and have claws? I'm totally blanking on their name. But instead of having those, you have like, a mech, like an AT-AT or an AT-ST, but set, of course, in the Old Republic times. Instead of, aspiring champions, you have like a little Sith cohort. Instead of using magic, it is the Force. Instead of, like there's so many elegant things you can do. I think it would be cool. I think it would be. Soul Grinder. Oh my, yes. Soul Grinders. There's only like I'm actually genuinely curious how many individual units there are in Total War Warhammer at this point. I wonder how many individual units there are. There is a lot to keep track of. And we're only getting more as time goes on. By the end of Total War Warhammer 3's development cycle, there will have been 3 games. There will have been 20 some odd factions. There will have been, maybe like 30 some odd DLCs, hundreds of new units tacked on top of what was already however many units shipped with each individual faction. So many things. Alrighty. Yeah, I've already got my almost like 200 for multiplayer, hundreds for single player. Yeah, that's a lot. It's funny because and the thing is too is there's 200 units for the 22 factions, but that is nowhere close to evenly split. There are some factions who are in the pits who do not receive any love, and then there are some factions that get all the love. And then there's some factions that get too much love. Here's looking at you, Kislev. Here's looking at you, Kislev. Alrighty. So yeah, I've got the Guilds and Gargoyles, fun adventure West Marches game all written up, good to go. Let's what else was I gonna look at? Oh yeah, classic Games Workshop tactics. That's the funny thing too. Is I was thinking about that the other day. I was thinking like when it comes to like DLC and patch notes, like it is truly like when Games Workshop releases a new book. Like when that book comes out, man, it's the power faction. But then eventually all the other factions get better. All right, I'm off. Peace. Peace, Gojira. Peace. Let's take a look. Oh my gosh, I've got so much written up that needs a little love here and there. Alrighty. And also, I'm getting comments. Comments on my YouTube channel. And being a good boy, I like to respond to as many comments as possible on my YouTube channel. I don't respond to every single one of them. It's not possible. It would take up a lot of my time. But I do like to respond to as many as I can. Okay. Ho. Hoti Watabonga solo. I need to think of a new project. Not feeling super inspired lately since finishing Strahd. It's always funny. You always have those bittersweet moments of like when you finish a grand campaign and then you're like, you know what? Like it's like I'm complete, but now what? But now what? Okay. There's always an insatiable need to be satisfied, isn't there? It's an unfortunate truth in our world. You know what? I think a lot of it probably stems from media. Is the fact that whenever you finish a show or a movie, you see the characters right off into the sunset. You see the good chapter being closed, like on this book. Like for those characters, like that is the end all. But for us, we don't get that. we don't get to close a chapter. We keep on going. It's funny how comments are on YouTube. I post a comment to the creator to give my opinion, then the other people feel the need to make comments to me. LOL, I was talking to the creator. Thank you. Yeah, and, people have a different mindset when it comes to the comment section on YouTube. I think it boils down to 5. Either 1, you avoid the comment section entirely. 2, you just read comments and just get the chuckles. 3, you comment, and you're just commenting to voice your own opinion. 4, you are going to the comment section to get some sort of engagement. Or 5, you are going to engage with others. And I typically don't comment too much on other videos. I just don't. Like whether I'm like just watching a video or watching like a stream, I typically don't comment. I'm much more of a lurker because I'm typically doing other things. But it is good to comment. It's good to get that engagement. It helps out your favorite creator that you're engaging with. So I should do more of that. I should strive to at least leave some sort of comment in some regard or some fashion. It'll help out. It'll help out the homies. It's always good to help out the homies. What was I looking at? I was looking at something. Oh yeah, someone made a video involving me, but then didn't tag me at all. And then I watched the video and I was like, oh my god, are they gonna be like making fun of me or oh no, what happened? But thankfully, I saw that they were reacting to my video and they had they said that it was an engaging video. So I was like, oh, that's awesome, perfect. I do my share of lurking, but try to help the conversation up again. Yeah, it's definitely it's so easy to not do something. That's kind of the problem with just human nature in general is it's really easy to do nothing. Real easy. But, it's good. Like I said, helping out the homies. Like, literally, like, I saw this person say, like, oh, man, I hate that YouTubers all say, like, comment, subscribe, da, da, da. But they've done absolute, like, studies that if YouTubers do not say, like, comment, subscribe, like, in the first, like, minute of the video or whatever, then the chances of people like, commenting, and subscribing astronomically plummet. So if you do nothing, then you do get punished as a content creator. If you don't tell people to do something, then you get punished, which sucks, but it is what it is. Spilled. Okay, what else can I be looking at here? I feel like I had something I wanted to work on. Oh yeah, I wanted to review my my thing on the good old Totally Not Mordheim ripoff. That's what I wanted to look at. Just codename the Dead City. Let's go. Let's take a look at what I had written up. Factions, vampires, or the Totally Not Vampires, the Totally Not Carnival of Chaos, goblins, drow, orcs, halflings, Totally Not Sisters, a roguish faction, a mage faction, the Matchlock Tears. I'm pretty proud of the Matchlock Tears. I don't think I've ever heard that word spoken in the wild before, but instead of being the Musketeers, being the Matchlock Tears, I think is pretty cute. The princesses, man, I don't know why I'm always obsessed with this idea of like these fervent knights always like working under some like princess who's got nothing better to do. I always like this idea of like this princess who's like, like I got nothing else to do. Might as well like go out on an adventure with all my, all my knights doing all the actual heavy lifting. Snake Men. I think Snake Men are underutilized faction in a lot of fantasy. Witch Hunters. Beast Men. Dwarves. Dragon Cultist. A whole bunch of other things going on. For this totally not Mordheim thing here, I'd written all this up, and I was either planning on making it either like its own game system or like a tack on to a game system like 5e or old school or whatever, and but I do in fact have war battle rules, like straight up like classic D10s. Being used in regards of everything. So let me take a look at that. Turn sequence is recovery, movement, missile, and then ballistic skill, strength to toughness, chart. If you have the average of stats is typically 3. With the real losers being 1s and 2s, and then you typically see like people eventually get stronger and then they get the 4 or 5s, whatever. So if you have a strength 4 weapon up against a toughness 3 foe, you need to roll a d10 and you'd have to roll a 5 in order to wound them. That gives you a 60% chance. Perfect stuff. Cover, critical hit. Critical hits do more damage. Higher strength weapons infer minus save modifiers to armor saves. I really like that. And then, of course, weapon skill to hit charts. If you have the same weapon skill as an opponent, you have a 50% chance to hit them. Pretty simple, pretty elegant, I believe. But with this, if you are a weapon skill of, let's say 6 up against a person of 3, then you would need to roll a 4, which gives you a 70% chance to hit them. But conversely, if you are weapon skill 3 going up against a weapon skill 6, you would need to roll a 9, i.e. you would need a 20% chance. Or you'd only get a 20% chance to hit. I might have to finagle with that. I'm going to have to playtest this a lot to really get a feel for how good those numbers are. But I like the numbers upon glance. I'm liking them. Let's see. Magic, morale. Different weapons infer different abilities. Like a flail lets you ignore shields. A sword lets you parry. A halberd gives you a plus to strength. Just classic stuff. Classic stuff. Armor, pretty simple. Armor gives you a save. If you are wearing no armor, then you get a natively, I believe, just a naked save of 10 plus. Yeah, but a shield gives you a +1 to your save. Leather gives you 8 plus save. A chain gives you 6 plus. And plate gives you 4 plus. So if you have a plate and a shield, you'd get a 3 plus save. Pretty good stuff. After action, PC characters either die or, some good stuff happens. Actually, I need to adjust that. There's no, you can't run a Mordheim game where, half the time your characters die. No. This is... No. There's modifiers. That's right. There's modifiers. That's what I was thinking. If you have no abilities at all whatsoever, then it is a 50% chance to die, but then there's going to be modifiers. So there's modifiers in regards if you've got a healer of some sorts amongst your ranks, then the chance goes up. But there's got to be more. I'm going to have to finagle with that some more. I'll have to finagle, as one does. Unit cards. Man, freaking Word, Microsoft Word is ugly when it comes to boxes. Unfortunately. Can't have those players die unless they're stuck in a time loop. can't have those players die. Screw that. I'll tell you what, I've never killed a player in my life, but my God, let me tell you how many characters I've killed. I've killed a fair few number of characters. Okay, I've got some write ups. Let me once again. I'm always obsessed with how many words I've written. For this one, I've got 14,000 words. That's a lot of words. Mamma mia. I have written a lot more than I thought I had for this. That is incredible. I can't say I've killed any players either, to be honest. I hope most people are in that that situation as well. I hope that to be the case. 14,000. God, I haven't even gotten to any actual hardcore writing for this. I feel like I've only just started and I've already got 14. That doesn't seem right. Was I looking at the wrong number? That doesn't seem right. I don't know. Killed 4 characters over the past 2 years. I'll tell you what, I have, over the course of my DMing career, probably killed... Oh, God. I probably killed close to 200 characters. Probably. I think 200 is a pretty good ballpark, give or take 30 on each end. That's a lot. I've killed a lot of characters. Jeez Louise. I have killed a lot of characters. That is a lot. But mind you, one thing that's been an absolute godsend is, while yes, on paper, oh wow, you've killed so many characters, you must be a killy DM. Something very important is, when I go to run a campaign where death is on the table, death is on the table. I tell my players this, saying, hey, with a combination of good dice rolls and good tactics, you will succeed. But with a combination of bad tactics and bad dice rolls, you will fail. You will die. I don't beat around the bush in that regard. That's that, right? And when it comes to, I've had specific campaigns where it's definitely been a bit more killy, but that was part of the nature of the game. Is like I said, hey, this is going to be a meat grinder. You're going to throw characters at the wall, and we're going to see which characters stick. And thankfully, over the course of time, I've had very few complaints about being a combative DM. I thankfully have been, I roll out in the open, I make rulings, and for the most part, everyone agrees with it. I've been very blessed with not being lynched or having pitchforks and torches come out saying, "Oh, you're just a combative DM. Oh, you're a killy DM." No, in particular, one campaign I ran, Conrad. One campaign I ran, over the course of the campaign, there was 82 character deaths. This was a West Marches game. And over the course of those games, 80 characters died. And the good thing was when those characters died, instead of them pointing the finger at me saying, "Screw you, DM," what would end up happening is they'd either self-reflect, saying, "Oh, I messed up. I shouldn't have done this. Oh, I was unlucky," or I did something I shouldn't have. Or they'd point to their left and right to the other players and say, "Oh, you got me killed. It wasn't the DM that got me killed. It was player B that got me killed." And that really, really helped. It was really a healthy environment for everyone, because instead of it being in opposition of the players versus the DM, I was working with them. But that's not the best way to put it. I was simply working, right? I was a referee through and through. I declared, okay, when you step here, X happens. I don't, I don't go through these big old spiels of oh, we did it. No, it was very much so. thankfully, like, oh, when this monster looks around, sees two targets, it's going to attack this one because of X, Y, and Z. Or one thing I do all the time is if it's a mindless monster, then I say, oh, when it goes to attack, okay, I'm gonna roll a dice. High's gonna go for A, low's gonna go for B, and like that level of fairness and transparency really helps out in a game where characters are expected to die. Alrighty. That's fortunate. I've had the same experience generally with folks I've played with. Yeah, that's a good experience to have because I have heard through the grapevine a great many complaints, either valid or not, of DMs being combative. Right? Like I've definitely heard I think all of us have heard the horror stories of, oh, my DM was out to get us. Oh, my DM cheated. Oh, my DM this. Oh, my DM that. And sometimes that is true. Absolutely. There are bad DMs out there, let's be honest. But also there are times where the players blow it out of proportion. The players do something incredibly dumb and want to not be punished for their dumb decisions. That happens all the time as well. So it's really good when you can get players to recognize, oh, hey, like, why did that monster attack me? Oh, that monster attacked you because it's got an aversion to magic, or, oh, it saw between the two of you, one of you was wounded and one wasn't, so it naturally went for the wounded one. Stuff like that. I'm trying to get on your level now and start DMing for a lot more people, and I'm worried that I'll be perceived as too harsh. Here's the trick, Conrad. You just run for a bunch of people, and then guess what? If people call you harsh, then they call you harsh. The people that stick around will, something that you'll probably come to find is when I do start running this West Marches is I might get a bunch of people signing up initially, but then the number is going to drop off. Whether that be because of, time constraints or whatever the case may be. But one of the reasons will be because they don't appreciate my DMing style. And you just got to live with that, right? Like you can get caught in the trappings of when you run for your friends, like the idea that people aren't going to walk away. But when you run for random people aren't going to appreciate your style. They're not your friend. They have no obligation to stick around. So it is good to run for random people because that is going to help develop your style. You're going to find players. Some of the players are not going to appreciate your style, but then some, unless you're an incredibly atrocious DM, which I doubt you're not I doubt you're a terrible DM, right? You're going to have players that stick around, but you got to play the numbers. That's just the sad, cold truth of the matter. You can run for 100 players, and X number of them are going to stick around. Depending on the system that you run, the game that you run, the themes, the tones, how your rulings, that's all going to be a variable in how many people stick around for your games. Sometimes, depending on the way you run the game, you're going to have more people stick around than others. But no matter what, you'll never bat 100. Never going to happen. So just take your lumps, take your slaps, Some people are not going to find you cool and dandy, but then some people are, and you're going to appreciate those people. And those people are going to appreciate you. I feel you. Thanks for the good advice and the vote of confidence. No problem. No problem. Keep it 100 around here. Keeping it 100. Yeah, I'm, like, it's funny, like, I for a lot of things, am a contrarian. I for a lot of things, I look at the popular things and I think, ugh, like, I don't like that. And that goes for certain shows, certain movies, certain games, whatever. And that also goes for certain DMs. Like there are certain DMs that are popular in the world that a lot of people like, but I know for a fact I would not enjoy playing at their table. I am an unfortunate contrarian, not a hipster. Thankfully, there are plenty of popular things I also do enjoy, but so I'm not a hipster, I swear. But there's definitely times where like the go-to GM, like the DM, whatever, like everyone's like, oh man, that DM's great, and I watch their stuff or I listen in or I hop in on a game, and I think to myself like, I don't think this vibes with what I want out of the game. But that's the beauty of tabletop role playing games is, you know, we're not sitting down playing Call of Duty. We're not playing the same game. We're playing a unique game at each individual table. And eventually, with enough searching, with enough practice, with enough effort, you'll eventually get that game that you want. Now, as I look around, today's video was decently received. Decently. It wasn't downvoted to death. It wasn't, I didn't get too many snarky comments. It's great. That's exactly what I want. I'm okay with I'm okay with that. I've been called a contrarian too, to be honest. Dude, I did have one player who was a huge Matt Mercer fan who left one game like 70% of the way through. It was a tough pill to swallow. Yeah, the Matt Mercer effect is like this ongoing thing of so many people either believe it exists or doesn't exist, or is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? And I think it's a net neutral thing. First off, I do believe that the Matt Mercer effect is a real thing. And secondly, I do believe that it is a net neutral in regards to the gaming sphere. The only reason Matt Mercer's game works is because he's got good players. If Matt Mercer ran for a whole bunch of people that weren't interested in the voice acting and they weren't interested in the theatrics and weren't as interested in getting into combat, my apologies. If he ran for a bunch of people that were like super duper interested in a bunch of combat, then the game wouldn't work. The only reason Matt Mercer's game is so good and why he's regarded as such a great DM is because he's got great players at his side. That being said, like that's not to discredit his DMing. He's a perfectly awesome DM, right? For what he does. But no DM, once again, bats perfectly. No DM can run for every player and have an awesome game. He runs for a certain group of people and he makes those games shine, literally. But unfortunately, what ends up happening is because it's such a televised event, a whole bunch of people think that that's what D&D is for 100% of games, hop into games, and then realize to their sad chagrin that is not how 100% of games work. And the ones that demand that don't understand that that's not how the game works, or they want to find a game that works like that. But Matt Mercer's game only works because of players, and if you're a new player and you don't come in with that energy of all the other people to get a Matt Mercer-like game, then you're not going to get a Matt Mercer-like game. I think a lot of people who watch that show think that Matt Mercer is the reason why that group is so great, but the DM can only do so much. The DM can only bring the players to drag the players to the water, but the players have to drink. I was gonna look at something else. Oh, that's what I was gonna look at. Let's go. Where do I want to put this? There was another thing. Press. True that. I mean, don't get me wrong. He can really spin a tail, but like you said, different styles and all that for sure. So recently, I watched a video on this. This is one of the trippiest things I have ever seen. I need to shrink this down a little bit or move myself around or something. So this is a video game manual for a video game that does not exist. I recently watched this video on someone who was obsessed with the idea of these fake games. There's a whole bunch of fake games floating around the world where people are creating diaries and videos and products for these games that simply... It is essentially a heavy metal, dope-ass version of Dark Souls. This thing is incredible. It is baffling to me how incredible it is. And I suspect because of that video, a whole bunch of these products have sold out. Like, I'm looking at a bunch of these products and the majority of them are sold out. The art is incredible. The world building is incredible. The style and presentation is impeccable. This is fantastic. This is like some of the coolest shenanigans I have ever seen in regards of creating a world that doesn't exist. And I freaking love it. Like let me take a look here. So like these are, let me see if I can, god dang, this page is like huge. So like these are like gods in this world. The greater beings are deities out of our knowledge that demand devotion, punishment, or sacrifice. Some are older than time. Some are sitting on thrones and others are invisible to our eyes. They all shape the world. So there's these, 6 gods: the cursed, the truth, relentless, the great, oracle, and the wrath. But something in particular is this one, Gervek, the great. They're a god, but then in this first one here, good old the first manual of this fake game, there's a panel that shows that god is dead. Oh my! This product is so freaking dope. I can't comprehend how visually and stunning this is. It blows me away, and I need to get this thing. Look at this. The Stench Champion. The remains move in a strangely human way, trying to mimic the warrior they once were, as if they are unconscious of their new body. As the name suggests, the smell coming from the champion is unbearable. If you elect to fight, you must hold your breath or change position to use the breeze in your favor. Like, god dang, I can't comprehend how much time, money, effort, and just brain juice went into this product that isn't real. But mind you, like these products are real, but like they're based on a game that doesn't exist. And yeah, god dang. It's so dope. I need to get my hands on as much of this stuff as possible, and I suspect because of that video. In fact, actually, the video is off to the side here. Let me see if I can show it here. The video is from a very big YouTuber, Super Eye Patch Wolf, and that video went on to get a lot of freaking views. Yeah, this does not exist. In fact, actually, let me see how many views did this video get. This video got nearly 2 million views. And because this video got nearly 2 million views, look at that, freaking 1.8 million views just a month ago. Because of that, that has led to this product being absolutely bought. God dang, I just love this stuff. It is incredible. I want it all. I think the art, the one art piece in particular that really sticks out to me is, well, there's two. There's this Wind and Shadows print, like just like crawling down this creepy dungeon, like it just looks so good. But for me, the Great Bell Tower, I don't know what it is about this one individual art piece of just how grimy it is and how unnatural it is. There's just something that calls out to me, like this. It's like a siren's call. This thing is, and like the lore is like this is at the bottom of a dungeon, and like I love the idea of like you crawl down a dungeon, but then you eventually have to like climb up this bell tower. Like that is just so cool. I can't stop gushing over this product. It's just amazing. But wouldn't you know, they probably have some issues stocking this thing, because this is pretty niche, and they probably didn't expect to be selling as many as they did. They probably had a very small, limited run here. This art too, like this gave me like inspiration to write an adventure here, of the idea of you are in a dungeon and there's like a sad skeleton that you go to give a hug, like that right there. That's just incredible. I can't stop looking at this stuff. I need to get my hands on this. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. There's probably gonna be some resellers floating around trying to upsell these things, which will be super annoying. But I really hope that these come back in stock. I really do. God dang, these are so freaking good. There we go. Great inspiration for a game, though. Great inspiration for anyone that's watching. Let me at least link that video. I should be able to post a link in my own stream, shouldn't I? That sounds reasonable. Perfect. Alrighty, so while I gushed over that ridiculously awesome sauce, was there anything else I wanted to look at? Was there anything else I'm currently working on that I can show to the public eye? I don't know. Let me take a look. Let me observe here. Huh. It's funny, I've gotten a string of Spanish subscribers, and I don't speak Spanish on my channel. which is unfortunate. I can only do so much. I can only speak so many languages in a single video. Is what it is, though. Alrighty. I don't think there's anything else I can really work on here. Yeah, I don't think there's much else I really want to work on as of this current moment, because the only thing I really need to put my nose to the grind on is working for this West Marches game that I'm not going to show on stream because I don't want to have anyone be spoiled, or I don't want anyone to metagame or anything of that regard. That being said, though, I will be making videos about it in regards of like how the players are exploring this dungeon and how the groups are interacting with each other. I will be making videos like sit reps of like, oh, here's what's gone on in the past few weeks here. And I'll be making videos about how you too can make your own West Marches game. Just follow these 5 easy tips. I'll be doing that for sure. Oh man, props once again to that Dungeon Coach individual. He has knocked it out of the zip arc. Has absolutely shown us the goods. Once again, looking at that. 9,770 backers, pledging 1,014,504 dollarinos with 24 days to go. That's just absolutely incredible. I'm genuinely curious. How many people have done the top stuff? There's 4 people did the legendary, so that's pretty good. 1 person did the deluxe. 26 did this. What's the deluxe group and then deluxe single? I see. Core, 158 core. 131 hardcover. Where's the majority here? 57 legendary. Oh my god, he's got so many different different ways he can back this thing. That's incredible. Honestly, having more options for what you can get out of this is probably the best thing. Here's the number one thing that people are backing here. 449 for the DC-20 Deluxe set. Woo-wee! Ooh-wee! DC-20 Deluxe set. Let's go. Oh, no, this is the number one. For some reason, I squished it. Instead of there's not. I thought there was only 900 backers. No, there's 9,000 backers. This is probably the big one here. The DC-20 core set, 2,000 backers. Also, is that looks like the symbol for One Shot Questers, a YouTuber. I think that is. I think that is honestly their symbol there. Digital only 1,048. Oh, here we go. Just regular hardcover 2,225. Woo. PDF 2,651. Mamma mia. Great stuff. Any FAQ yet? Oh, what a rookie. I will say, this Kickstarter page is like a 99 out of 100. I've already watched the video. The video is incredible. All this going on here, the presentation is pristine. All the beautiful art, all the snippets from all the YouTubers, all the oh hey, here's the stretch goal. Oh hey, here's here's what you get for the tier. All that's perfect. He's missing an FAQ. That is funny. So it'd be 100 out of 100 if he had that FAQ. This is crazy. I don't know if he suspected that he'd be getting this many people to show up to this Kickstarter. I haven't talked to him about how many people he suspected he was going to get. I don't know if he was suspecting to get uh, what's easily going to be 10,000 people back in this thing. I don't know if he knew that. Golly. Great, great stuff. Bro, every D&D YouTuber has been talking about this system, I feel like. Yeah, I mean, well, first off, Conrad, all of us D&D YouTubers, when I say all of us, I say like a lot of us actually talk to each other, surprisingly. A lot of us are in our own little private little biome where we get to interact with each other, we get to talk to each other, interact with each other, we get to, do whatever. And so a lot of us are friends with Dungeon Coach because he's a swell dude. Swell individual, that guy. I should have made a video about him, but and as you might know, like I was gone from YouTube for a year and change, and I unfortunately didn't have anything prepared, and I don't want to make a video on this just yet because I haven't fully delved into it yet. I do plan on doing that. I do plan on making a video about this system because I truly do suspect that this is the system that a lot of people want. I talked about this before, but the blessed biome, exactly. I do fully suspect that the action economy of block system action economy is one of the better ways to go about modern gaming. That is something that Pathfinder 2 excelled at versus trying to just be another D&D clone. Stepping into the ranks of the block action economy system, I think is just genuinely good. It allows you as the player to formulate out your plan. You say, hey, on my turn, I'm going to use 1 to run. I'm going to use 2 to use the spells. I'm running up. And then for the 4th one, I'm going to punch someone in the face. Like that system is really, really, really good. Can I pull up the PDF here? PDF, where are you at? PDF, and somewhere around here, here we go. Here we go. Fillable rules preview. Maneuvers, damage. Yeah, so this system absolutely is a departure from 5e, which I think is a good thing. I personally do not want to play a clone of a system. I'd rather play a new system. More often than not, if someone makes a clone of a system, I'd rather just use my own homebrew rules. I think my homebrew rules are going to be better for me versus playing someone else's homebrew rules for the game, right? So you can see here for things like damage. Damage is much lower. I do like the inclusion of umbral damage. I think that's pretty cool. Umbral being things that wither you, like dark or eldritch. Because umbral just sounds so much cooler than necrotic. Multiple damage types. Did the check a spell more than one type damage? You choose which of those damage types the bonus damage increases. Oh, that's actually like I just pulled up a random snippet of this of this whole PDF. That's actually a pretty big one right there. Of if you do something that does multiple types of damage, you can increase the damage of which one you want, which is pretty cool. Share damage. When 2 or more creatures share damage, divide the total damage rounding up. Oof. So if you get hit for a splash of 3, then it'd be a 2 hit for everybody. Oof. Fighter steps in front of the attack against an ally. They share the damage. If the total damage was 5, then each creature now takes 3. Yeah, pretty simple stuff. Also, having examples for concepts that are relatively new to someone that's only ever played either one tabletop role-playing game or no tabletop role-playing game is incredibly important. Incredibly so. Well, I was going to look at something in particular. Combat, maneuvers, actions, advance action. Oh, here we go. I was going to look at the action points here. You get 4 maximum at the start of combat. Each creature gains a number of action points equal to AP maximum. Once an action point is spent, it can't be used again until it's regained. You regain it all when the turn ends. Mana points. Yep. There's mana, there's stamina, grit. Great stuff. Taking an action. I am genuinely curious, though, why he finally settled on 4 in regards of action points, because he could have just, copied Pathfinder and gone 3. He also could have gone up and done 5. 5, I think, is a elegant number as well, but he settled on 4. I think 4. I'm gonna have to play this out. I don't know the full, how it feels at the table yet, but I know that 4 is solid 4. Like the whole system is built around 4 action points. Like the whole system has to be built around how many action points you have. So he eventually did stick to 4. A lot of good info in this video. Excited to learn the system you are using for West Marches game. Have a great evening, everyone. No problem, Tracy. No problem at all. I'm actually going to be wrapping things up here in a few minutes, probably 7 minutes. I'll end the stream after 2 hours and 30 minutes. I think that's appropriate. So if anyone has any questions, gripes, moans, complaints, or just general observations, feel free to voice them. Or in this case, type them. In this case. Defense. You can spend 1 AP to impose disadvantage on opportunity attacks made against you. When you take the disengage action, you can spend an additional 1 to become immune. Okay, that's interesting. One of my general observations about this system, though, is the more rules you have for the core game, the more it can feel like classes don't get to shine as much. Like a perfect example being this full disengage one. I feel like if you stripped that away, it could have been the case where some classes could have earned that through their class. Like for example, being the rogue. The rogue could have a full-blown disengage action, whereas no one else gets to do it. Or you can implement design philosophy on, the rogue actually gets to use the disengage action as part of or gets the full disengage as part of their disengage action. So I'll have to see. I'll have to look at the classes. I'll have to look at those classes to see what the heck they're on about. Also, where the frick are the classes? Mastery. 10 steps to creating character creation outline. Where are them classes at? Here we go. Also formatting. I see these aren't bolded, but I mean this isn't the actual PDF. This is just a preview, a free preview to get people level 1 to 2. Alrighty, rogue. Weapon passive. You gain the benefits of weapon style passives. Maneuvers, you learn all attacks and weapon maneuvers plus additional maneuvers. Techniques, you learn a number of techniques as shown in the techniques table. Stamina points, you have a stamina points, maximum stamina points, Okay. Bonus HP every second level. Not every second level. You get one at 1, one at 3, one at 6, and then one at 9. Okay. You regain 1 SP when you hit a flank target, when you hit a target that affects a condition, and once per turn when you use a cunning action. One thing that's really awesome about this system is, in addition to giving you resources to play your class, there's incentives to play your class. Like the rogue here, you get stamina points back when you hit someone flanking. That's very roguelike. Compare this to now the ranger. You get something back when you take an action to successfully hide. When you're being a ranger, you are rewarded for being a ranger. Like that's it's a very simple thing to forget that you should play your class the way it's designed, but some people don't, and that's a good way to help people play that class. Cunning action. You gain 2 spaces of movement when you take the disengage, feint, or hide actions. You can use this movement immediately after you take the action. Okay, so I like that. The rogue gains something when they use the disengage action. That's exactly what I was looking for. They get at least something tacked on top. Like that's very important for class. Like have the baseline of the rules and then have the classes interfere with those rules. Great stuff. Cheap shot. You deal +1 damage on martial attacks against creatures that are flanked. Cool. While not wearing heavy armor or wielding a heavy shield, when an effect that you can see deals damage to you, you can spend 1 AP as a reaction to have the damage. Okay. Great stuff. I'm going to be diving into this for sure. Going to be showing it off. I'm going to make some highlighted key points on why this system is good. And then I'll make a video on it and try to cash in on all that glory and help out the homie. Alrighty. So. If no one has any more questions, concerns, gripes, moans, complaints, grudges, or just general observations, then you can. In fact, see me at a later time. You can, in fact, do that. I'm looking forward to the game I'm going to be running, West Marches. Like I said, probably start up in a week or so. Get everyone all invested. Walk people through creating characters, because a lot of people haven't played this game system before. And get people in on the good times. Looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. I hope you're looking forward to that. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you to my patrons. Thank you to the donos in chat. Thank you for everyone showing up. Thank you for all the lurkers. All you lurkers do great deeds as well. Thank you so very much. And I cannot wait to see you all in the next one.